The following podcast is a Jill Devine Media production.
That's just too high of an expectation to have of yourself that you have to be perfect or have it all together before you get out there and start.
I would encourage people that try something that doesn't work to keep trying. I mean, we work with people that do this all the time. They come to us and they're like, help me put this plan together. I want to do all of these things. And then we put a plan together and then they might actually walk away from us and implement maybe 50% of it. And then I think they feel like sometimes like they failed instead of looking at it like, look at the 50% here that I succeeded on and I did awesome.
Evoke Creative is a proud sponsor of 2 Kids and a Career. They help small business owners like me brand with purpose and market with intent. The ladies at Evoke Creative will help make your digital presence known. Learn more at evokecco.com. That's evokecco.com. Hi there and welcome to 2 Kids and a Career. I'm Jill Devine. As an entrepreneur, wife, and mama, the daily grind of trying to build a business while taking care of kids and trying to maintain a healthy connection with my hubby, it's a lot. With this podcast, you're going to hear candid conversations with other moms, parenting experts who can share their knowledge and insight, or you'll just hear me rambling to get it all out. There's going to be tears, there's going to be laughter, but most importantly, there will be support. Take a listen and connect with me so we can grow and learn from one another. This is 2 Kids and a Career. Welcome to episode 102 of the podcast. And this week's episode features 2 best friends of mine. And I feel a little weird, only because I didn't really know how to prepare. Like, I know everything that I want to talk about, but then at the same time, I don't know. It's weird for me. My guests have said that it is only weird for me, so I am just admitting that out loud. But I would like to welcome Tiffany Roven and Crystal Peterson to the podcast. They are the owners and founder of Evoke Creative. So I have talked about Evoke from pretty much day one of this podcast when it came to the relaunch post radio career. And I've talked about how you 2 set up my website, jilldevine.com. I talked about how, and I still talk about that, obviously, and how you've helped me with some digital creation and marketing strategy, and how you 2 are just huge champions of small business owners. And so I wanted to have you guys on to talk, obviously, about Evoke and what you're all about and what you do, but also being small business owners yourself and being parents and being wives and just kind of how that all works in your head and in your mind, and just to get a different perspective. I just thought it was really cool to have 2 women like you. As soon as I lost my job, you both were like, hey, we're here to help you succeed. We know that you have something to offer and we want to be there to support it and we want to help it. And I don't know that I would be where I am right now if it wasn't for your support. So I thank you both for that right now.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. That's why we do what we do. So that's nice to hear.
Well, and I think that there are other clients that probably feel the exact same, and they don't even have the tie that we do. I mean, we've all known each other for a very long time. And so that's an even truer testament. I mean, I would be lying if I said when we first started talking about this, and I think it's actually something, Crystal, you and I talked about, when you mix business with friends, is that good? Is it bad? Is it whatever? And I didn't want our relationship to ever suffer or get a crack in it because of the business side. But I think that from my experience with you 2, we've been able to really navigate that and walk through those waters. What do you guys think?
Oh, definitely. I think that the biggest thing, that the most important thing people can do where they're considering working with friends or family even, is to make sure that expectations are set up front. So it kind of rules out any miscommunication or disappointment or feeling like somebody underdelivered. So as long as all of that stuff is outlined in the beginning, it certainly makes it a lot easier to stay friendly.
Yeah, and always communicate.
Yes, I was just going to say between you two, since you two have known each other for so long, what is it like working together? I mean, are those conversations that you two have as well? Like, all right, this is what we need to make sure that we keep our friendship and our business life separate.
I don't know about you, Crystal, but I feel like we're extremely blessed in that department. I don't know that we've ever had to have a conversation like that. We somehow just organically knew who was going to handle what. Um, because our business is obviously we own a creative marketing firm. Half of it is very heavy design oriented. The other half of it is pretty heavy strategy. So we just naturally, each of us kind of lend ourselves to one side over the other. But we both can do both sides of the business. But we take the lead on opposite sides, and that for us has allowed us to kind of feel in control of what we're doing and work together really well without having any type of conflict, I feel.
Yeah. Well, our friendship is more important than business. So at the end of the day, if it didn't work out, I could walk away from the business and still be friends with Tiffany. I mean, I'm not one to hold a grudge or hard feelings, and it would be a conversation that we could maturely have and figure it out from there. And Tiffany, I think, feels the exact same way, has the same outlook. Like we would never let anything come between us.
Well, I also feel like that's kind of the approach we take with all of our clients too, is that same thing within our friendship. Like it's all about our friendship first and then the business. So we speak kindly. I mean, when we brainstorm together, it's always, you recognize one another's ideas, you compliment one another, and then you build on it. You never say, I think that's a horrible idea, because it's really just about perspective. And that really doesn't ever happen. But even when you disagree with someone or you have a different idea, there's a way to present it and be kind versus
Right.
being frustrated or whatever. That kind of thing doesn't really happen with us, which is why I feel like we're so kind of blessed with this situation.
What you said though about wanting to help, and I've said that so many times in some of the different commercials I do for you both, because it's not about greed. You don't do this particular kind of job to make a lot of money. And because we're all so creative, that's what drives us. I mean, we've all had the conversation that we would love to be able to not worry about making that mortgage payment or taking lavish vacations, but what fulfills you? That's what drives you. And that's what I also see in you two with this business. Like there have probably been a number of times where you both were maybe like, what are we doing? What can we can't take this on anymore, or it's not paying the bills or what have you. But then it goes back to what you love and how it's making you feel on the inside.
I have two things kind of to say to that. And the first would be that once you find and you start working on something that does fulfill you, like once you find a career or even just a project or anything, a hobby that you enjoy as much as I enjoy what I do, it all works itself out somehow. I mean, I don't want to say magically, but it does sometimes feel like it does unfold in a way that you don't really know how that's happening, but it does. And then the other thing is, the money side of it is you learn to, because you love what you do, you learn to live with what you have. So I don't know how to describe that any better than you're so happy and fulfilled that you're just going to figure out you're going to make it work.
My driving force every single day is just to help someone. I mean, there's so many people out there who have businesses and they're plugging away to try to make their business happen. And when Tiffany and I can get in and help somebody and get them on a plan and set up and get them an awesome website and a logo and all the other stuff that goes along with running a business, when we can help someone and you can just see the load that's been lifted, for them and how happy they are, like that is why I get up every day and do this job, because I love helping people. And that's just what I'm passionate about. And I know Tiff is too. So that's why I do this.
From my perspective as a client, you two are very easy to work with. You are kind. If I have presented a bad idea or something, you're like, well, that could work, but let's think about this. And so it's great to have the experts in there that can see different ways to market, different ways to think about a logo, different ways to think about branding. And I know it was so much easier on me working with you two on that. And also just seeing, and I've said this before, my ideas that I can see in my head, but can't really verbalize them too well, or even because I cannot draw at all. I have no artistic bone in my body, but to kind of be able to say what I'm thinking and present it to you two and then have it come to life. That's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, it's cool when you can do that.
That's fun. That's the part. And like seeing people get excited about what we can turn around and in terms of what their vision is and bringing it to life. It's fun. It's fun to watch that happen.
On the business side, I don't really think that we have said exactly what Evoke Creative does. So who wants to take that part?
We offer a full scope branding and marketing, portfolio of services. So when I say that, I mean, like we can help a startup develop an entire brand strategy and marketing strategy for launch. We can help an existing brand refresh their look and their website. We can take somebody who's just trying to start, maybe an entrepreneur or solopreneur, do logo design and a simple website. We do social media marketing and content creation. We have started doing promotional swag, branded apparel.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's been a huge thing that I don't even think was on Crystal and I's radar probably 4 years ago when we started doing this, but it's become a really, it's huge, honestly. Like everybody wants it. So that's fun. We really enjoy doing that. Right now we're working on a book cover, which is very exciting for an author. So that's pretty cool. We've got a lot of really unique, interesting one-off projects that we work on, but I would say the bulk of what we do is we work with small business owners to help them achieve their goals in sales and marketing. So if somebody comes to us and they're like, I'd like to grow my social accounts by this much, or I'd like to get better engagement or whatever, we help them do that. If somebody's like, I really want to run a campaign to increase my sales, then we help them design that. And, having that idea versus implementing it are two totally different things. And if you're a business owner and a small business owner and you're limited on bandwidth, you totally understand that. Like if you're like, oh, I want to set up a campaign on Facebook and drive people to my website and I want to sell a t-shirt, like that's all great. Sounds like a great idea, right? There's a lot of work that goes into that behind the scenes. And hopefully you have somebody on your team that can handle it. But if not, people outsource that type of work to us. We have a team of people that work with Crystal and I. It's not just the two of us. So started out as just the two of us, but now we have some help, and so we're able to do a lot more. So we basically anything marketing or small business related, we help with. Did I forget anything, Crystal?
No, I was just going to say that one of the biggest things we can do is just help people come up with a strategy and a plan, because so many times you have a billion ideas and you just are kind of like picking one out of the air this day and that day and just hoping that something works. But if when we can work with you, we can develop a strategy and get you on a plan so that those things can actually happen.
I know you've both been on other podcasts before, correct? Like business podcasts?
Mm-hmm. We were on a creative marketing podcast called Creative Brew TV, right? Isn't that what it's called, Crystal?
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome. And then I, thanks to Jill, I'm in the process of trying to launch a podcast for Blonde in Real Estate.
Another proud sponsor of the podcast.
Yeah, right. So I'm becoming more and more familiar with all of this.
Well, tell me about that conversation that you had going into a podcast about your specific roles in the business side of things. Like, what were some of the things you guys talked about?
He's a creative. So he asked us a lot of things about, our process and what we find the most beneficial in what we do and what we find frustrating, or what our favorite projects have been, or he asked a lot of questions like that we talked about, kind of the creative process that we go through.
I just remember him asking about creative blocks and how we get inspired and stuff like that.
Yeah. And then he said, like, he asked us for advice for creatives, and basically we were just like, just do it, you know,
Yep.
just taking the step to get started is everybody's biggest, once they overcome that step, that's like the biggest thing to overcome. Once you start going, then it starts to flow, but taking that first step.
What about for on that business side of things? And it doesn't even have to be a book about this, but are there any books that you would recommend to creatives or to small business owners or just to individuals to just help with maybe something that they are battling within their head, or they're looking for something. They're just looking for that thing that's going to help them do what they want to do.
I have 3 right now. They're all by the same author. His name's Donald Miller, and it's Business Made
Oh,
Simple, Marketing Made Simple, and something I haven't read this one
story
yet,
branding?
but yeah, you know it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes,
read
I
that too.
do.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Smarter, Faster, Better is a good one for productivity. Think and Grow Rich is kind of an oldie, but a goodie.
We both love Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits is a good one.
I bought that because you both
Oh, it's so
told me
good.
about that. Okay.
Pardon my language. Am I allowed to curse?
Are you gonna say the subtle art of not giving a bleep?
Yeah, no, that's a good
It's a
one.
good
But
one.
how about unbleep yourself? That's
Oh,
another good one.
okay.
There's one book that's super simple that I read. It's just like Instagram secrets. I don't even know how. Um, hopefully it's been updated, but it was really good when I read it like 2 years ago. Had a lot of it was written by a woman who, I believe, if it's the right book I'm thinking of, it's written by a woman who is in the land of Instagram influencers, and she was kind of telling you like do's and don'ts of Instagram and how quickly somebody should be able to figure out what your account is about when they land on it, those types of things. The motivation manifesto is pretty good. Are you those Jen Sincero books? Is that how you say her name? Those are really good. All of the like you're a badass and
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right. Another one I'll add is Essentialism. I think I sent it to you too. There's dry parts, but there's good parts. Just how to keep things essential. Just that's what you should focus on.
I got 2 more. One called Grit, and the other one is that Shoe Dog Phil Knight. I don't know if you've read that or not, but that's a really good book.
No.
And then there's one more. There's the lady who did the Think. Oh, I'm sorry, not Think. Hint. Those waters, the Hint water. She's the founder of that company. She wrote a book. I'm trying to find the name of it. It was really good too. Told a story behind that brand.
Oh. Okay. Yes,
I haven't
please
heard.
send it.
Is Hint a water company? What is
The
Hint?
book's called Undaunted, and her name is Kara Golden, I
Yeah,
think.
and so she is yeah, Crystal, that's a good question. Is it hint like HINT water or
Yeah. Hint water.
oh,
Do you know those waters? You good?
no. Are they flavored?
I don't either, but I
They
must
are.
somehow know that.
They're like exactly what it sounds like. They're just a hint of flavor.
Oh,
Oh,
And there's no
okay.
carbonation, which is why the people in my family like them, because I can do the sparkling waters, but these they're not carbonated. They're like water with, like, you put it in a pitcher with some strawberries and you let it
Yeah.
sit, and then you get the flavor. It's like that.
Is it sold everywhere?
I think so.
Oh.
We get them at Costco. There's a plug.
Oh. I'm gonna have to look into this. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit and just talk about you two as individuals navigating everything as a small business owner, as, like I mentioned earlier, a wife, a mom, a friend. I just like to always provide advice to anyone that may be listening, that something you've realized, something you need help with. I just want to go there. I just want to see what you both have to say.
I'll be really honest. The first 3 years of going into business with Tiffany, I kind of lost myself. Like, I lost a little bit of my family. I'm going to just go ahead and be honest about it because I was so into what we were doing. And I love it so much that I kind of neglected them for a little bit. And we got out of the habit of having family dinners and nightly walks. And, so probably the middle of last year, maybe even the beginning. I'm not sure, but I really started to realize that and knew that I needed to, scale back, even though I was enjoying what I was doing. And I never felt pressure or, from anyone to do these things. I just was doing it to myself because I was so into it. But I realized that in doing so, I let some things go with my family that I needed to get back. So I've been working on that for the past, year and a half, and everything's great, but it can happen, and I think if you can catch yourself early enough, maybe I feel bad about it sometimes, but you know, at least it didn't go on forever. Like I saw what was happening and I put an end to it. And now I just have more, people call it balance, whatever. Some people have a problem with work-life balance. I don't. I need it. I think it exists. And that's what I try to focus on, is having that balance.
That's funny. That's my word for 2022, balance. I have, and anybody who knows me and just heard me say that is probably actually laughing because because I tend to just be like, sure, I can do that. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, let's do that. And then I don't think about the fact that there's only 24 hours in a day and that I do get tired and there are children that I need to feed. And so I'm probably the reason Crystal had 3 rough years.
I could have said no at any time.
Just kidding. I do think a big part of what Crystal's talking about is that we were still involved and still working on it, but for a couple of those years, we were immersed every single day in a startup that was probably even the hardest things I've ever done in my life. So I think that probably played a pretty big role in the overload that we experienced during that time frame. But yeah, I think like just to go back to that balance, being able to say, okay, you know what, I've been working for 3 hours. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna go for a walk, or it's time to go downstairs and make my kids like a healthy breakfast and lunch and dinner. Just being able to pause and do that, and with that comes the need to be super organized with your time and scheduling, and that's something that I've learned from Crystal and have gotten better about. But that helps so much, planning, and then just planning out what you're going to work on each day and breaking it down into smaller tasks and doing all of those things, which can allow you better use of your time. Because if you don't do that, like, I don't know about you guys, but the day just slips away. And then I'm
Yep.
like, oh my God. And then I'm stressed. And then I'm grumpy. And then I'm
Yep.
like, why is everybody bothering me?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
but if I
exactly.
can plan ahead and have some balance to my life, it's much, much better. It's easier said than done, but that's definitely what my mantra is for this year.
We are on the same page.
I have also learned over the last 6 months or so that something's gotta give, but I don't have to give everything up. I can pick and choose, and so one of the things that I made a decision to do was only release these podcast episodes biweekly because I was releasing them weekly, and is that the best thing to do? Yes, as far as releasing them weekly, as far as staying in front of people and showing up on their feeds on their phone and all that, but it was not worth it for the stress I was putting on myself. So, that was just one thing that I chose to do, and I don't know, I know there's more, but I don't know, I'm just trying to listen to what my mind's telling me, my gut's telling me, God's telling me, I don't know. It
Peeling it back and doing what's necessary, and then getting really good at the things that are absolutely necessary for the podcast media, right? So do those things, do them really well, and then add something as you get it all nailed down, then add something else. And I think the problem is most people try to go out and do it all,
Yep.
right? Whereas we would coach somebody to take 3 of those things and master them and do them really well and get them perfectly fit into your schedule and get it ironed out so it only takes you this amount of time to do those 3 things. Then add something else on, add another layer, manage that layer, add it into what you're doing and figure it out. And then add another, build. Like, this is all about building and keeping it manageable. And what you did is smart. So you should commend yourself, because that's the smartest way to go about it. Maintaining a successful business without burning out.
Well, I remember talking to you two at the very beginning when we were starting all this, and I was hesitant about putting things out until it was all together. And I think you both did a really good job of, I mean, I probably pushed back like, nope, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I have to have it all together. And you guys would cooperate with me and let me do my thing. But I was learning everything like most small business owners when they're doing something for the first time. I had a little bit of knowledge from the radio side with the podcast, but I had to learn everything on my own, and I wanted it all to be perfect, and that's unreasonable. And so it is like the advice that I've given and you guys have given, you just got to start. You just got to do it, and then you work things out. It's better to improve than, I guess, decline. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely the
actually
direction
smart,
we wanna
Jill.
head in.
Yes.
I don't want to be rolling backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and you're never going to have it all, and it's never going to be perfect. And just when you think it is, something changes. So, that's just too high of an expectation to have of yourself that you have to be perfect or have it all together before you get out there and start. That's just not the case. You can peck away at things little by little each and every day. And before you know it, you'll have something that's full blown.
And I mean, like, I would encourage people that try something that doesn't work to keep trying too, because I feel like sometimes people are like, oh, I'm going to try this in my business, or I'm going to try doing this consistently. I mean, we work with people that do this all the time. We have clients that do this all the time. They come to us and they're like, help me put this plan together. I want to do, all of these things. And then we put a plan together, and then they might actually walk away from us and implement maybe 50% of it, right? The rest of it doesn't get implemented. And then I think they feel like sometimes like they've failed, instead of looking at it like, look at the 50% here that I totally, I succeeded on and I did awesome. So I think it's perspective. It's being smart enough to recognize your wins, and everything should be celebrated. And then realizing we're going to give you this. So even, with what we do, we're going to give you this strategy, but it's okay if you don't do it all right out of the gate. Hey, maybe you're going to do this much this year, and then next year you're going to look at it again and you're going to add something else on. It's just about being able to identify what you've done and where you've come from, where you are now, and recognize your growth.
Will you two talk about a couple of the clients that you currently have that you think people might be interested in knowing about?
Well, right now we're working with a company called My Buddy Tom.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a startup job, like a job search site, and they call it a job match. That's going to be extremely simple to get on. And I mean, they're about to launch. They're not launched yet. But you're going to be able to go set up a profile, click through some buttons, no resume. You don't have to have a resume uploaded. You don't have to have a degree to get on there and set up a profile. Although I'm not saying some of the jobs on there won't require those things, but in order to set up a free profile as a person looking for a job, you don't need any of those things. It's very simple. Then they go out and set up relationships with these businesses within the area or within industries. And the businesses post the jobs on their side of the portal. And then when there's a match, it matches the two parties. And then the businesses can reach out and contact the people that are applying for the job. So essentially you go on, you set up one profile, and it allows you to apply to any job that matches your criteria, matches what you want to get paid. It matches your skill set. It matches the hours you want to work. Do you want part-time work? Do you want freelance work? Do you want remote work? Those types of things. Or are you in the labor industry? Are you are you in construction? Are you a plumber? What are the things that, it's going to cover a lot more industries than, say, you would feel comfortable going on Indeed or LinkedIn and looking for a job for, I feel like.
Oh, very cool.
So, that's one client that we're helping with their launch strategy and kind of cleaning up the application and doing some real kind of call to action work on their end before they launch. That's a fun project. What else do we have, Chris? We have a bunch of stuff.
Well, the one that's just coming to mind is the real estate company that we're going to work for. It's here in Kansas, but they've been in business for, 10 or 15 years, and they haven't had success with marketing because they haven't had a team behind them supporting them and guiding them. and we're about to, do a whole refresh of their look and their messaging and their website and their marketing. And I think that once they can see what we can do, that they're going to be super excited just with the outcome and how clean and professional things look, and how more on track everything will be with their brand. So I'm really excited about that project because I know that we can help them and that they're going to be really happy. And that makes me happy, knowing that we're going to have such an impact on their business.
I think I'm really excited about doing the book cover. That's one thing that's got me, I'm pretty pumped about doing that. So if any self-publishing authors are out there and need some art for their book cover, we love that kind of work too.
Yeah, that's fun.
So it's fun to have those creative projects in addition to helping somebody build a startup or a business, or, grow their sales. So
why don't you give all of the details on where people can contact you or see your work and get some more information?
They can hit up our website at evokecco.com. Or there's several contact forms on there, depending on what you're interested in, that you can get in touch with us. Our phone number's on there. You can always give us a call. We'd be happy to talk to anybody on the phone. We do offer a free 15-minute consultation with anyone, so they can schedule an appointment or request us to reach out to them online, and then we can call with a follow-up, talk to somebody, see where they're at with their business, what their goals are, and if we can help.
What about your social media accounts?
it's all the same.
Okay.
Evoke CCO.
Perfect. And before we say goodbye, any parting words, advice, something you want to say that might help someone, since that's what all three of us love to be able to do?
I was just going to say, you don't have to do it alone, and just call us because we want to help you. Your success is our passion. And I actually thought that I had come up with that on my own, and I was so excited. I was like, oh, look at this really great quote. And then I Googled it, and it's been said, but it's true. Your success is our passion. You don't have to do it alone. So we're here.
I think to build on that real quick, like, you don't have to hire us to do the whole thing. If somebody is like, I only have this budget, but these are all the things. These are all the things I want to do, and I only have this budget. We can say, we can do these things for you for this budget, and then we can help support you and your team or you in accomplishing those other things without having to pay us to do them. So, if you feel like it might be out of your price range, don't let that stop you, because we work with people in a bunch of different ways to make it something that they can hire us to help them.
Well, I am very thankful for you both, not only as business partners, but of course as best friends. And I want to see you guys succeed. I want to see people reach out to you and see firsthand that everything that you're saying is true. So thank you for taking the time to talk about the personal side of this, the business side, and like the honesty and all of that. And I also thank you for continuing to be a sponsor of the podcast. That is one of the biggest compliments that I can receive.
Well, thank you. Yes. And anybody who's considering sponsoring your podcast should, because every time that you released an episode, I can see the activity spark on my website. So,
well, thank you.
You should know that it works.
Well, thank you for that. That might help pay the bills, Tiffany. I appreciate that. Well, it's been fun talking to you two in this kind of manner. It ended up not being so weird. So
yeah, thanks for having us.
We should do it again sometime.
As always, I would like to thank you for your support of the podcast, and I am going to ask you for a favor. Can you please go and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast wherever you're listening to this, on whichever podcast platform of your choosing? You have that option, and when you do that, this allows the podcast to get into the hands of others, kind of word of mouth deal. So I appreciate that. You can also follow along on social, Instagram at Jill Devine, Facebook at Jill Devine Media, and Twitter at Jill Devine Radio. I wish they could all be the same. I know, but life's complicated, right? You can also follow along JillDevine.com. There's all kinds of good stuff there, including the nomination form for a Supermom shout out. Thank you so much for all of your support of 2 Kids and a Career.